podcast where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. My name is Arianna Campbell, shareholder and COO at Boomer Consulting. And with me today, I have Amanda Wilkie. Thank you for joining, Amanda.
Live and in person, Arianna. We don't get to do this very often.
That's very true. So we are actually recording today from our 2024 Boomer Circle Summit. So exciting to be recording live from that event. By the time that this airs, we'll actually be deep into planning for next year, but we'll still be bringing you insights and information and updating things for you. So for today's topic, we're actually going to be talking about the transformation triangle, which we released earlier this year. And our goal today is really to just have a conversation where we provide a recap of those trends, and then we talk a little bit about how we are seeing those trends evolve. So as we're thinking about this trend, the transformation triangle, kind of some of our methodology for how we pulled this together was that we looked at the macro trends that are happening within the profession, and then we really took a look at how they apply to each of the 5 pillars. So talent, technology, leadership, process, and growth. And so when we talk about this concept of the transformation triangle, we'll actually be talking about it from a macro trend perspective and how that applies to each of those 5 pillars. So we're excited about giving you that recap and then our insights. So Amanda, as you think about the transformation triangle, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with the first one?
Well, first let's talk about what the transformation triangle is. I think the profession has really been focused on things like process management, process improvement for quite a while now, going on 2 decades or so. And in recent years, we've really seen a focus on project management as well, and making sure that we are, whether it is a client engagement and deliverables or rolling out something new initiatives, new technology, whatever it is, firms are really starting to focus on project management to make sure that those projects are more successful, that they're getting done within the scope that they were intended to. But recently, the last couple of years, we're starting to see a third management. So we have our process management, our project management, and now we're talking a lot about change management. And firms are really starting to realize that they need all 3 of these things. And Arianna, I know you and I talk about this a lot when we talk to people and they ask, well, what is the difference? Well, of course, process management is making sure that you're managing the processes, the processes that are important to your organization and to your clients, things that, get deliverables out the door. Project management is executing a project, and typically provides something new to the organization. But just getting things done doesn't always help the individual. And so that's where change management comes in. It's making sure that you're building buy-in and everyone understands how changes, whether it's a change in a process or change in a project brings along, that they understand what it's going to do to them as an individual. That really helps with buy-in and adoption. So when we talk about that transformation triangle, we're talking about, again, process management, project management, and change management. And from a leadership perspective, leaders are really beginning to realize that it takes all 3 of these things to be successful and to handle the amount of change that is coming at our profession. So no longer is it optional to address these areas in any project or initiative. You have to have all 3. It's really, again, required for success. So leaders are really investing in these areas. They are, making decisions and realizing that this has to be a priority. So the important thing is the organization doesn't change. It's the individuals who change. So if you want to be successful, you have to make sure those individuals are changing. That's what's actually going to change the organization. So again, overall, I would say leaders are just really embracing the transformation triangle and realizing how crucial it is to the success of their firms.
And when we think about leadership's perspective, obviously they need to be thinking about things organizationally and how does that transformation triangle apply to the organization. But one of the most important parts of the organization is the people. And so really making sure that our people are equipped with the skills that they need. And that takes continuous learning and adaptation, because as we look at the different skills that people are going to need in order to be successful in the transformation triangle, we need to really be building different skill sets. So we need to be thinking about in the traditional sense of project management skills, not confusing that with engagement management, which is really important. We need to make sure that we're managing our engagements well, but truly looking at project management from the definition that you gave earlier and training people in that framework to make sure that they're successful, thinking about our process management leaders and equipping them with the framework. So think for project management, PMI, and making sure that they're in line with the Project Management Institute or getting their certification and training there. We use the DMAIC framework and Lean Six Sigma when it comes to process improvement. So making sure that people are getting those skills that they need also for change management in order to be successful. But we have to make sure that our people are continuously learning to be successful in really making sure that they can lead in their roles. And we are seeing more of that. So we're seeing more role evolution. We think about our process circle, which is where we focus on things related to the transformation triangle and really are able to hear from people who are in those roles. And those roles are continuing to evolve. And not only are the people who are leading those roles evolving, but they're also training others to help them be successful.
Yeah. So that brings us to the process, in this area, and how the transformation triangle is impacting process and the people who focus on process in your organization. And I love this. Say there's a process from all angles. See what we did with the triangle and all that. Okay. I know I get too proud. But as you mentioned, Arianna, there are frameworks, and it's important to realize that there are frameworks. You mentioned the PMI, the Project Management Institute. They have a framework for project management. You mentioned the Lean Six Sigma DMAIC framework that is used for process management. There's also the ProSci change management framework also. So there are frameworks for all of these. And as you mentioned, we need to understand what they are. We need to be able to leverage them. And you mentioned engagement management. All of these, the frameworks are different, but the focus can be very similar. Organizational skills, communication skills, influence and authority, things like that. As you mentioned, these roles are really changing, and that's what we're seeing. People really grow into these roles, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's amazing. But using those frameworks from the process pillar perspective is, you have to have a process for these things. You have to have a process for how you're going to execute projects. You have to have a process for your engagement. You have to have a process for change management. So it's important that you have those frameworks, but also that you're building and documenting and creating your firm's processes around the transformation triangle.
Absolutely. And we start looking at how all of these areas work together. We're thinking about the leadership, the talent, building that process, and using those frameworks. That all really helps to contribute to the growth of the firm. And when we are thinking about the transformation triangle, it can really help us to align our growth initiatives. Because when we are focusing on project, process, and change management, that really helps us to grow in smart ways, because we are removing the friction that comes from not having all angles of the triangle working together, and it can really impede our growth. So our goal is to make sure that we are really focusing on the purpose for why we are really implementing these different areas of the change triangle, of the transformation triangle, and really making sure that ultimately our goal is to grow and find new ways to add value to our clients. Because really, when we are creating additional opportunities from this, we want to make sure that they're serving that larger goal.
Yeah. And that brings us to the technology pillar. And I would say when it comes to the transformation triangle, there is some untapped talent in your technology team. Your technology teams are used to project management, whether it is rolling out a new application or maybe it's rolling out, any new technology initiative. It could be just like onboarding 100 people at a time. Those are areas that your technology team is already applying project management skills. They're already thinking about how the technology or new technology is going to impact the individual from a change management perspective. So just inherently technology and technology processes are more project-based. So you have, again, some untapped talent in those areas. So your technology team may be pretty good at assessing the organizational impact of a change, or even the individual impact and individual readiness of a change. So I would encourage firms to talk to their technology leaders and see how they feel their teams are with some of that, with the change management, the project management. And there's a lot of people in firms focused on process management as well. So I would encourage firms to really get those teams together and start having conversations about how those three things, how process management, project management, and change management can really come together and really speed up the transformation within their organizations. I think it's very important. And like you mentioned, Arianna, in the process circle, we have practitioners who may have gone through Lean Six Sigma training. Maybe they've done process improvement projects. We also have a lot of IT people in there. We have a few that have innovation roles. Again, when I think about process, project, and change, a lot of innovation happening there. So there is a wide variety of roles, experience, and knowledge just in the process circle. And I think that speaks to how process, project, and change management are truly things to support the entire firm. Not any one person, not any one department, but it's truly, the transformation triangle is truly a firm initiative.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So as you think about when we got together as a consulting group and created these trends back in January, and I know that we've looked at them quarterly, so we put the trends together in January. We make sure that we're looking at them quarterly. How do you think that they've changed now that we're, past the middle of the year? How do you think that they've changed in 2024?
I think we're seeing the transformation triangle really ramp up, especially when it comes to change management. You and I both speak, whether it's at Boomer events or at other industry and profession events. We speak on these topics. And inevitably, I have multiple people come up to me afterwards asking about these different frameworks, and really curious and wanting to look for resources and wanting to look for training and things like that. So I think more and more people, more than I even expected, are excited about these frameworks and really looking for how they're going to apply them to their organization. So I think that we were spot on in January when we talked about the transformation triangle. I personally didn't realize how much it was going to ramp up in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm seeing the same things, which is the focus on change, because the pace of change is always accelerating. It's not slowing down. And so firms really realizing that, hey, we need a way to actually navigate the rapid pace of change. And I think that we will continue to see the trend of a focus not only on the transformation triangle, but really honing in on that change part and using a framework for change, much like process improvement was something that came into the profession and really took hold. I see change management also doing the same. And I also see the roles continuing to increase, I think we'll continue to see different roles getting added into firms that are within those areas of the transformation triangle. So more project managers, more process managers with a focus on continuous improvement, and then also people who are focused on change management and have the training skills and certifications to be able to really leverage those frameworks.
This one definitely isn't slowing down. And I know we still have quite a bit of time left in 2024, but what are you thinking for 2025? Like, if you had your crystal ball, what do you think our conversation is going to be like in January of 2025?
In January of 2025, I think we're going to get into seeing more metrics and KPIs around these areas, and firms really finding ways to start to measure results and tie them into other parts of the business. And I think it will be interesting to see, depending on how firms have evolved in each of these different areas, how those metrics stand alone, but also how they work together and then integrate with other dashboards and business insights and help to contribute to the evolution of the business model.
That's a good one. I look forward to those conversations. What I would add, what I'm thinking about in 2025, just a little while ago, I recorded a podcast with Jim Boomer. We were discussing the trend AI everywhere. So if our listeners didn't have an opportunity to check that one out, definitely go back and listen to that, because it was a good conversation. But we discussed how AI is, it is really ramping up. It is fast moving. Firms are really embracing it. They really want to harness it. I won't even say that they're embracing it. They want to harness what AI can do for their organization. And to really do that and be successful, you really need to look at your processes.
Sure.
You're going to need project management to execute those initiatives quickly, but you also really want to focus on change management to make sure that your people are able to embrace it and really be successful. So I think we're going to see this transformation triangle become more and more important when we see things like AI really start to take hold in the profession as well. So I think one trend will be how the transformation triangle can actually support and speed up that trend, the AI trend.
And I'm also looking forward to discussing that evolution of this topic in 2025 as well. Well, thank you so much to our listeners for joining us today. If you enjoyed this topic, look out for new episodes every Tuesday morning. We like to rotate topics and themes, but the common theme among all episodes is that we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. So please subscribe, and thanks for listening.